can call this meeting to order.
Yay.
Okay, invocation, please, Pastor. Please rise.
Let's pray. Dear God, as we turn our attention to Thanksgiving this month, we do give thanks for the many blessings that we have. And may we never take for granted the simple things like rain. We thank you for that. And we thank you for a life that you've given us. We thank you for this place that you've given us to live and for the blessings that we receive each and every day here. Lord, I pray that you'll be with the council and the leaders of the city as they make decisions that impact the lives of others. Lord, grant them wisdom and insight in all things they do. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Shall we pledge allegiance on 3, 1, 2. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bogas.
Here.
Councilmember Purdon. Here. Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Mayor Steinmeier.
Here.
Councilmember Corey.
Here.
Councilmember Fullick. Here. Deputy Mayor Forbes.
Do we have any changes to the agenda? Okay. Public comment on any agenda items, please come forward.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Jim Magnus, a resident and businessman of Bonita Springs. I'm here to speak on items number 10, Mayor and Council items number A and B. Several months ago, City Council appointed me to the Lee County Recovery Task Force. For the public's benefit, I was appointed to the Economic Recovery Branch, which is really an advisory committee of sorts. We have no power, but we were tasked to think big, with initiatives and projects to make Lee County and our city more resilient to future storms like Ian, and to make Lee County more resilient economically for the future. The county's been given over 1.1 billion HUD dollars to spend, and the county is working hard to acquire further grants and funds for additional initiatives and projects. It's been my goal to suggest initiatives and projects to benefit the city of Bonita Springs. The county seems to have already earmarked the initial funding to projects and initiatives. However, they have assured our branch, which is kind of an advisory committee, that they are working hard to secure additional funds. 2 projects that I've lobbied hard for Bonita Springs is the Rails to Trails project and for a revisioning of Riverside Park to include the Goodbread Building, Lyle's Hotel, and the Artist Cottages. I believe with substantial grant dollars, this area could be self-sustaining and a go-to destination for the community and for tourists. Commissioner Kevin Ruane is the lead for the county regarding Resilient Lee Recovery Task Force. So to further that cause for Bonita Springs, I met with him in his office in Fort Myers last week. The discussion went well, and Commissioner Ruane agreed to walk Bonita Springs downtown with me in person to see the area. We did that last Friday. Commissioner Ruane suggested to move any project forward with grants that would need to get City Council support. Commissioner Ruane agreed that the project involving the Goodbread Building, Lyle's Hotel, and Artist Cottages could be supported by every branch, advisory committee initiatives in the Resilient Lee Task Force. My ask today is for the city to hire someone like DPZ, who has visioned the downtown from the very start, to revision Riverside Park area to include the Goodbread Building, the Lyle's Hotel, and the Artist Cottage. I think spending money on just the Goodbread Building at this time without a vision for the entire area would be a mistake. As a council, you have the opportunity to benefit our community through grants, to increase our resiliency, and create a truly unique and wonderful attraction and experience for Bonita Springs families and tourists. Please commission DPZ or someone like that to re-envision the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Kyle Moran. I first moved to Bonita Springs 30 years ago. I spend nearly every day in our downtown, and like the previous speaker, was honored to be nominated to the Resiliently Economic Recovery Task Force, where we've considered a lot of potential improvements to a downtown that you're doing a lot to improve, and it's getting better every day. And we've heard about a lot in these chambers from the improvements you've approved recently for Banyan Tree Park, some signage improvements, some lighting improvements that are on their way, making it pedestrian friendly, an improvement that we expect the Sheriff's Department will start enforcing soon. And of course, with a big innovative public-private partnership with Barron Collier, getting ready to invest tens of millions of dollars to improve that area and bring lots of money back to the taxpayer. And we saw today with a great presentation by Nicole Perino of the Parks Division of the city. You're, of course, contemplating a lot of improvements to the parks there, from Riverside Park to the Bandshell, Depot Park, Island Park. And this is all attached to the areas that the prior speaker just mentioned, with the Lyles Hotel and, of course, the Good Bread, former Good Bread building. This is a uniquely well-qualified area for grants. It really fits well with what the entire Resilient Lee Task Force has been focused on, with specific federal housing and urban development criteria that speak to spending in low-income areas, trying to achieve economic diversity and economic resiliency along with just recovery, that it serves a clear public benefit, it provides public recreational benefits, and it enhances art and culture for the area. So I believe that, you know, with so many great things happening in that downtown, we all know how great July 4th was, an incredible Halloween, an incredible Veterans Day celebration. We're on the brink of having another great holiday in the park. We've got to continue to focus on that area, and as the prior speaker said, the obvious choice is to think big about this and go get those grants. And an obvious next step would be to employ capable consultants that have already served our city well, like DPZ, to continue your great works and deliver a fantastic downtown destination for our entire community. So thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Okay, we'll go on to 8, rezone. A presentation by somebody here.
This is a first reading of a zoning ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs to rezone portions of property located at approximately 24461 South Tamiami Trail, Bonita Springs, Florida, 34135, totaling 4.1 acres plus or minus, from the light industrial district to the general commercial district, and provide for an effective date.
Good evening, Council. Mike Feegun with Community Development for the record. Per usual, we'll have the presentation along with the applicant's presentation ready for you at the second reading. If you have any questions in the meantime or anything specifically you want us to be able to address at the second reading, I'm happy to listen.
Motion to move to second reading.
Second.
And questions?
Just one question real quick. What is, it's not a huge difference, but what is the reason that they want this change?
So there's a companion application that's going to be coming through to you within the next 2 meetings, I think, for a specific use that they want to have on that property, which requires the zoning change.
Okay.
Okay, motion and second, roll call please.
Councilmember Bogas. Councilmember Purdon.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Steinmeier.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey. Councilmember Fullick. Deputy Mayor Forbes.
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call please.
Councilmember Purdon. Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Steinmeier.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick. Deputy Mayor Forbes.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Okay, any comments about the agenda we just passed? Thank you. It's amazing, we got, the Good Bread building is on the agenda next, so we've got a good lead into that. What are some of the ideas we can do with that? The DPZ, looking at that area is a great idea. Do you have any other comments? I call it the Dixie Moon, but it's been there for 3 years. It took me 2 years to get the city to paint it. I think we need to do something with that area. I understand the Laz Hotel is still under reconstruction from the storm. Needs an elevator, I guess, and some stuff. And so what ideas do we have going forward on that? Fred?
I passed around to everybody, is this your place? This is what the Good Bridge building used to look like when it was brand new. If you restore it, if you don't put it back with the portico and all that, it's gonna look just like it does now. A box with windows and a door, and that doesn't look worth saving to me. If you're gonna do it, this is what you gotta go back to. You don't have to put the old cars in, you don't have to put the pumps in, but you gotta put that portico on it so it looks worth a darn. Otherwise, it's a waste of money. And that's gonna double the cost if you do that. But if you're gonna do it, you wanna do it so it's worth something that looks historical, and what we got down there now doesn't, because that isn't the way it was. Here's a picture of the way it was.
Are you absolutely positive that's the wit?
What?
Are you positive that's the good bread?
Yeah,
It looks like a Texaco station.
no, it
On
was,
the other
that's
hand.
the way it was a grocery store, it was the last stop here before you went to Miami that you
Mm-hmm.
did gasoline, that was it. Talk to your historical society, that's where, that's where.
Well, since it's been moved, it's not historical anymore.
That's right, and it looks like crap, it's a box, it's a box.
Well, that's why I put it on the agenda to come up with some ideas.
We either need to make it look like that or tear it down, because putting money in a box that doesn't look any good is not gonna help the downtown. It's either gotta be made to look good, like it was, put in the bone pile and build something else that would attract.
Mr. Mayor?
That's one idea, yes.
I actually concur with Mr. Magnus that we should hire a professional DPZ and do a cohesive idea of what will cause people to go downtown. And that box isn't going to do it. We should spend no more money per se until we have a plan.
Any other ideas?
I agree with Laura.
I mean, I think I'll say the mean and necessary thing that some people might be thinking but don't want to say. This building isn't historic anymore. It lost the historic designation the minute we moved it. So essentially, so it is a very old building with zero functionality right now. We already spent way more than we should have to move the damn thing to begin with. And now it's one of those scenarios where it's just been sitting here. So the real value of what it is geographically, what's under it, it's geographically where it's at. If it were to disappear tomorrow, Bonita Springs would be just fine. It's not historic, and it's not functionally doing anything for us. So if I'm not against the idea of trying to tie the entire thing in, and maybe one of the options is that building goes away, you know. But I think looking at it's appropriate. I would just, two things on that is I don't want to spend a ton of money on a study, and I don't want to spend a ton of time to figure out what it's going to look like. So if we can, in an expeditious manner, kind of get some options, I'm open to that process and whatever that looks like for us.
DPZ would be have somebody look at that
Well,
area.
I agree with what Jesse said. The way the building sits right now, if we favor turning that into an artist kind of area, that Good Bread building as it looks now is right at the entrance to it. And it's got to, to me, it's got to go away. But more important, I think, is coming up with you know, what Jim was talking about in terms of a focus on artists, the utilization of the Lyles Hotel, the utilization of the artist cottages and so forth. I think that would enhance the draw downtown. It would enhance the ability, I think, of affordable housing, workplace housing being developed to support artists, not only visual artists, but hopefully performing artists as well. I think there's no downside to it. I think we need to go ahead and do it. I think we would probably get support of it if we asked Baron Collier, because it would be an additional draw for people to live downtown. So, I'm all in favor of it.
Well, my idea was to maybe make another artist cottage out of it,
No, I don't think you
do
can.
something with it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, before I was on council, I remember the hue and cry when we talked about moving that. I still call it the Dixie Room.
$140,000.
Hot caboose.
But we've got a box. We've got a box that is decorative. What's left of the Goodbread building is almost nothing. We keep calling it a building. It's really not a building, it's a facade. So I agree. I love the idea of having something as far as not reimagining, but repurposing that space. And I would not vote to spend another dime on the Goodbread. And I don't see anybody from the historical board here either. It was on the agenda, so I'm just saying.
So I would.
Maybe we'll get love letters tonight in our emails.
I would make a motion that we go ahead and engage DPZ to come back with some ideas and plans
Second.
and get moving on it.
Second.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Steinmeier.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Forbes.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas. Councilmember Purdon.
Okay, where we at here?
It's my topic, I guess.
Resilience, yes, Chris.
Okay, discussion regarding the Recovery and Resilience Task Force initiative. The last meeting, I discussed the fact that I handed out through Mike the copies of the draft initiative profiles. And this was really done to try to reset the initiatives into the different branches and so forth. And I asked you to take a look and see if there was anything that was missing in it. I think in talking to Arlene and others, it basically, I think, comes down to our interest in Bonita Springs. I think it's threefold. One, it's obviously stormwater management. Anything to do with stormwater management that can help Bonita Springs out of the funding is what we want to do. Second, I continue to push the idea that if we can ever get to a purchase price, that we want to focus on getting the grants that we need to build the rails to trails. And third, I think it is along the lines of affordable housing, workplace housing for residents in Bonita Springs, because we have a large area that qualifies close to the downtown area where we have invested tens of millions of dollars. And I think, I was recently made aware of the pricing of rental properties. It's just incredible what 3-bedroom, 2-bath properties are running for. I couldn't even imagine. $4,000 a month. I don't know how working people manage it. But I think those are the three areas. How we can get our fair share of affordable workplace housing dollars, how we can improve stormwater management, and how we can finalize going after the rails to trail system. And so that's where I'm at, but I'm your messenger up there. Has anybody else got anything that you want to add to that?
I've got one, and I believe it would be supported, and that is, number one, it would be initiative. One initiative would be that Lee County would adopt what we're doing on this flood prediction, and that software can be expanded to do stormwater surge as well. So that should be one of the initiatives, and the second initiative is that the county as a whole should adopt a thing like we do, that all new stormwater systems or a major addition has to be modeled with the software that we've got licensed, and they would just put that in the whole county. So, because if you don't do that, we're accepting designs that are not tested uniformly.
Okay.
They do their own testing. So and that could be three real simple, 2 sentences on each one of them. That'd be
Okay,
three.
that's a good idea. We can do that. Anything else anybody's got?
Well, I agree most of what you brought up, Chris, but I get concerned when we start talking about affordable housing as opposed to workforce housing.
Workplace.
I am totally focused on workforce housing. We start talking about affordable housing, I think we're creating a problem.
We're gonna import people.
Thank you. The other thing is the fact that if you talk to any realtor right now, you'll see the number of properties that are for rent and haven't been scooped up is beginning to rise, because not that people got greedy, but some people got greedy after Ian, and that's why rental prices shot up. Well, now people are getting their homes back, or they've moved, and now there's more rental property available, so some of that problem's gonna solve itself.
Okay. What's your view of it? I'm just curious, Jesse. I mean, you've got the area that I'm, quite frankly, most concerned about.
I think, I mean, look, if we capture any dollars, I'll be absolutely shocked because I still think the entire thing's pretend. But I'm willing to go through the motion and fight for whatever I think we can get. But I mean, this and Santa Claus are about as real to me as us actually getting any dollars through this process. But if we can, again, I'm always ready to go to the mat if I think we can. I just don't have a lot of faith in this specific process, that this is gonna turn into anything for us.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse.
But I like
Sorry,
the word
sorry,
brand.
I'm a realist.
I know, I'm a realist also. I lived in Lee County for 45 years, and you're lucky to get
Yeah.
we're a city now. We're trying to get something for the
I mean,
city.
the backup plan is we go after the grants ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
And so, whether we get it through Lee County or we go after the grants ourselves, all I'm looking for are these the initiatives that we want to focus
Oh,
on.
yeah, I think all three are important. I mean, I think those are all important things for,
Okay, so we're at least in agreement in concept. Okay.
In talking with Lee County staff, I understand at some point there'll be an ask of the council to adopt the final end product of a plan, which we would then forward on to Lee County, and all the jurisdictions in Lee County would be signing on. It's also the understanding this could possibly be used as a support document, exactly what council's saying, for us to use to apply for additional funding from other resources. There will be a plan laid out by Lee County on the 1.1 billion. They've shared with us that there'll be a solicitation for those funds, and there's more to come on that process.
it'd be interesting to find out if our ask portion that we're giving, is this kind of a supplemental to their ask or not? Because then the question would be, is it smarter, like if I'm Fort Myers Beach, for example, I'm gonna go it alone. I mean, or if I'm Sanibel, I'm probably gonna go it alone. I mean, I'm thinking about, like, look at the areas that were smashed, and instead of cutting it up between 5 or 6 cities, I'm gonna do it between myself, if I'm them, thinking as them. Now, from our perspective, I just kind of wondered the same. Is this gonna be in support of a larger grant that they're gonna be trying to get, and including our population and our needs in the reason why they need these dollars? Or is this something that we would be, if we were to go alone, is this something we're competing on? Or what does that look like? And I'm not exactly clear on that part yet.
What I understand is this was a requirement of the process of the 1.1 billion. It is to look at, it's through HUD, so it's primarily to address low to moderate income communities, which we, as census tracts, do have a higher percentage of those than our neighboring jurisdictions. And then there's a balancing act of how that 1.1 billion is then distributed based on the fact that it has so much criteria that it does need to meet those HUD requirements.
Right, and then it's cut up from the county, though. I'm saying if we hypothetically were, I'm not suggesting we were to go alone, but if we were to go alone, we have a lot of the tracks for that. So then, would we be in a more advantageous position that way, looking at them next to each
I
other?
think we're, this stuff's as clear as mud.
Yep. Got it.
What is clear is there's $1.1 billion that came from the Department of Housing and Urban Development to Lee County, and they will be administering the distribution of those funds. There is no go it alone on those funds. Those funds will be distributed through a fair and equitable process through Lee County, and they have the strings that Arlene mentioned, and the communities will have to work through that. This document that Chris is talking about, it's been bandied about that there's other funds out there, and I'm sure there will be. I don't know to what order of magnitude, and the opportunity to go it alone or to partner with other jurisdictions based on the agreement probably exists.
So this is just the housing portion, so there's, what we're discussing, so the other portions that will be coming.
No, I believe that one of the requirements of the 1.1 billion was to create there was a community engagement portion of that, and there was a plan that was required. And the consultants that they have working on it, Haggerty Consulting, worked through a public process for that to create the plan. Now is the point where it's been distributed to us as a draft to each of the members, and to provide feedback, I believe, tomorrow. And then in the beginning of the new calendar year, I understand there will be an ask from each jurisdiction to adopt that plan. So that is part of the process of them complying with the 1.1 billion.
Get the one.
But I think it's twofold, as, there is this plan in place that could benefit, goals, objectives, and policies to acquire the 1.1 billion, but it also could be an opportunity for other funding that makes itself available because you can reference back to the plan. The 1.1 billion is going to have strict regulations because it is HUD funding.
Right.
And there is going to have to be an equitable process, exactly what Matt said, of how that gets distributed. And that is going to be determined by Lee County with their consultants and with direction from the state and from HUD.
Part of what I'm wondering is, as Jim Magnus was alluding to, some money going towards the downtown corridor due to the fact that it is in the zone area. We don't have a CIP for that we already can be like, hey, we could do this with it. So I'm saying, is there still going to be room? All of the things that we're potentially getting money are things that we've already had together. Is there going to be room for something like that? I mean, when you're considering how much money it is potentially, there's potential it could be useful in the downtown corridor.
Well, that gets back to, when was that, Matt, when we sat down and came up with, sort of the,
Probably about this time last year,
well, no.
was it? Or was it a little later?
You remember when I talked to you about, what about if we did something with the area behind the shopping on Old 41 that impacted Rosemary? And then taking that and making Rosemary a better connection to get over to the park, so the kids, when they have to go down to the roundabout and circle that way to get to the middle school. So that's still in some of the thought process, that's still in the planning documents to do, maybe not with this particular HUB money, but that's still in there with respect to other initiatives that they want to try to find funding for. I do think the county is going to do a reasonable, good job of trying to help the communities in Lee County apply for the grants to do all this, to do these initiatives. There's just been too much political capital expended on the part of all the communities, all the major employers such as Lee Health and the school district and so forth on this thing for it to go, in my view, to go up in smoke. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
This is $55 million that the county's gonna get for administrating this. The $55 million they could do something with, but this is part of the $55 million that goes to Haggerty or some consultant or something. But anyways, they want 70% of the money used on low-cost housing
I gotta see.
areas.
Is it just Haggerty?
That's the
Is
only,
it just Haggerty?
No, you've got administrative costs. They're gonna hire people.
No, I'm
Who
more
made
interested in the community or the collaboratory.
County made that.
I
Are
was
they still
told
involved in
Hagerty.
No, Haggerty consulted on it, but that piece of work there is done by county staff.
No, I'm saying include, okay, gotcha.
I believe the county actually even created a separate staffing. As you know, Glenn Salyer is leading it up to. There'll be some additional employees they've discussed that they're going to be taking on to administrate this. There's also the housing component of that, how that's going to lay out. So I think as we get more information of how the solicitation happens through Lee County for us, the opportunity to apply for funding, the council always has the ability to amend our budget to create CIP items that make sense as our match or potential contribution to any project that you want to commit to. So I think we need some more information of how that process opens and what our requirements are.
Arlene, if, let's say we adopt these things that we said we would want to add it, do we have, how many days do we have to get it, those 2 or 3 sentence items written up? And
I think that today, the comments you make, Chris, is carrying as your liaison to your meeting tomorrow to express those. That's what the purpose of having this on the agenda today.
I think Chris is coming up with between the roundabout and Rosemary, that area there. I think might qualify because it's
Good.
something that's an area that we might
It's
be
been
able to get some
identified,
improvements.
well, it's an area that's been identified as a section of Bonita Springs that needs some help, and, we can justify it based upon the income demographics of that area, and we can also justify it based on the need to find a safer way for kids to get to the middle school that live in the area around Rosemary Park. So, it's, sometimes easier to be cynical about this, but I am comfortable that Dave Horner and his staff, a lot more comfortable than I was before Dave Horner got in charge of being the county manager. I'm more comfortable that something's actually going to happen. Now, this final report's going to be issued right now in February. That's the deadline, and I would, the resiliency task force meetings are on YouTube. They're open to the public, and anybody's welcome to come or at least look them up on YouTube and take a look at what's going on during the meetings. But Fred and I are going up there tomorrow. There's a meeting from 10 to noon, and we'll be there to present our ideas and our requests from Bonita Springs, and we'll see what happens from there.
It's Nigel.
I was gonna ask Arlene, I don't think that it's gonna be a problem to say one of the things that we would like to know, and I'm sure a lot of other people would do, that money, how did they come up with that figure? I'm sure we'd get an answer on that. That would probably help.
How did they get what figure?
85 million?
For the administrative cost? I think it's just
55.
55, I'm sorry.
55 million. It's
That's
nothing,
5%.
it's,
Finding out what are they gonna do with that money,
I would love to know.
well, the 55 million,
More government.
no.
but I don't think they're hiding it. Nobody's asked, so now
Who are
I'm
they
asking.
are they contracting anything out, or are they doing this all under under Glenn's folks? If they're doing it all under Glenn's folks and it's their salaries, fine, but if they're gonna be contracting it out, I'd like to know who that's getting contracted out to before we stamp of approval it.
Okay, so let me put one thing in here about what the 55 million includes. It not only includes what you would normally think of as administration of the funds, but it also includes the cost of projects that fail. There will be grants that are issued, projects approved, grants issued, and for whatever reason will fail. And the way the feds make you deal with that is that money then gets charged against your administrative allowance of the 5%. So to the extent, I can't justify 55 million just in terms of people pushing computers and so forth around. But I have a feeling in my mind that there's going to be those projects that get funded and for whatever reason fall flat. And when they fall flat, they're taken out of the 70%, that's for, say, housing or infrastructure. They're taken out of those dollars and they're charged off as administrative costs. So,
I'm okay with that. My question is more just the logistics of where's the, okay, so specifically, is that 55 million going to be in-house, or are they contracting that portion
as
out?
far as I know, they're not contracting anything. Hagerty is done, for example, when the final report's issued in February.
I think what might be helpful is Glenn Salyer has offered, any assistance he can to us. If anyone individually would like to set up, we can set up a call with him and individually go through any questions so that we kind of work through any of that before we're asked, to have
Might be a good idea.
a vote.
I mean, it's just, if the people understood that portion, they would just like to know. I mean, if we were gonna be in a contract with somebody and we said our administrative fees were gonna be a couple $1 million, people are like, for what? They would wanna know. I'm not saying it's not warranted, but I'm saying it's a ton of money we're in a scenario now where there's not enough dollars for the amount of projects we're putting in. Yet we have $55 million for administrative costs. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but what does it look like?
We need to have additional meetings one-on-one if we're just making the ask. How did they come to that number?
Yeah, I'm just a
I mean,
breakdown.
That's all I wanted.
Just a breakdown.
Give us a breakdown.
Well, anyways, it's a gift from Washington DC, one way or another. If we get anything, we're that far ahead, okay? It's already been taken out of somebody's pocket or put on somebody's debt. So if we get anything, we're ahead of the game. So let's keep after it and we'll see how it happens. And thank you, Chris, for putting your time and effort into this.
Okay, thank you.
And Fred.
Okay, can we move along here? Let's see. Is that almost at the end here?
11A.
Second reading of the 5-year capital improvement.
This is the second reading of an ordinance adopting the 2023-2024 5-year capital improvement program annual update, providing for legislative findings, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Public hearing, just to see if there's any members of the public wish to speak on it. Seeing none.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Steinmeier,
Aye.
Councilmember Corey, Councilmember Fullick,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Forbes,
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas,
Aye.
Councilmember Purdon,
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
City manager, city attorney, please.
The only item I have to just mention quickly, and I'm working on finalizing the numbers with Lisa, but as part of my contract with the city, if we come in under budget, we return 70% of that difference back to the city. At this point, it looks like it's going to be about $86,000.
You are just doing a great job.
Now, you're doing a good job by not getting in trouble.
Very good. and
Well said, thank you, Derek.
That's how you get your money.
Congratulations, that can always save the money, okay. City managers.
Yes, thank you. At this time, I'd ask Lisa to come forward. Many folks in the community recently received their final property tax bill, and there's a lot of questions about Hurricane Ian and any potential requests that they may make to the property appraiser. So I was just hopeful that Lisa could walk us through a little bit for the public, that process, and just kind of give us an update on that.
Yes, good evening. So all the property owners in the city and in the county as well have just received their property tax invoice. We just wanted to review what the procedures were for property that had been impacted by Hurricane Ian. If you have property that has been damaged in any way impacted by Hurricane Ian, those are structures, the Lee County property appraiser has asked that you report that to him and his team. Now, on their website, it's Lee PA, and if anyone would like it, they can reach out to me. I'll walk them through it, but there's this big, right on the homepage, there's this big icon right there. It's Hurricane Ian, and it walks you through everything you need. You can do it via email, you can upload pictures for your property damage, or there's phone number there too. You can call for those who'd like to verbally communicate that. But they really want to get specific damage details for all the property so they can verify that the valuation that they've received or that they have there is consistent with what the individual parcels impacts have been. Now, what we do want to stress is that value that's listed there, the taxable value, that says January 1, 2023. Now, they do this annually. They're required by Florida law. So what they want you to do is if you do have property damage, give them a timeline of your repair and your replacement. So, for example, if you don't have a structure anymore January 1st, but you think maybe January 2024 you might have one, or there's some kind of repair that you need to do to take occupancy. So that kind of, any kind of details that you can give them, they keep those records, and it helps them just, really get a better value for those properties. And they're looking for that. They really like it. One thing we do want to call to everyone's attention, that value includes land. So land value and in our city, fortunately, has gone up. So that's part of your change in your value. So let's say you have a property that, you used to have a structure there, the structure's not there. That structure value should not be there if you don't have the structure anymore, but the land value will have gone up. So the property appraiser really loves to chat with people and walk them through their value. So if anyone has impacted by the Hurricane Ian and they want someone there to walk them through the change for their individual parcel, because everybody's parcel is so different. Commercial, residential, if you have structures, it's just so different. So he wants you to do that. Now, one thing we do want to mention is the homestead, the ones that are homestead exemption, and that, as we all know, that provides a lot of savings. That can be, even though it's not habitable, that can be protected and kept. But there are some guidelines on that. So they really want, Lee County Property Appraiser really wants everyone to reach out with that. Say, for example, that was your primary residence and you had an exemption for your homestead property. If you're unable to live there because of Hurricane Ian, reach out to them. They have some guidelines and some steps you can do to protect that if you're coming back into that property very soon. Yes?
If your house is not inhabitable, that's one situation.
Mm-hmm.
Your house is just damaged, is that also affected on your tax value?
We would want the property appraiser, that's why he wants the details, because every situation could be different. I think, from my understanding, a certificate of occupancy may play a significant role in that, whether or not it's inhabitable, but there may be various factors there, with.
Mayor, I know that I've seen a couple of these come through. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a single-family home,
Mm-hmm.
and you've received some damage, but you can still live in the home, but perhaps you had a shed or an adjacent structure that got destroyed. Well, since that structure has a value, letting the property appraiser know through filling out the paperwork will let them know, and they'll take it into consideration. So, for instance, if you said, my pool cage is gone, that can be part of the valuation of the structure, but it's probably not going to give you a big break. If you had a 2,000 square foot separate garage and shed, that would certainly be a different structure. It would have valuation tied to it. So that's where we're taking those items into account.
Well, my home is still not livable.
Right.
So I got the same bill as I got for last year.
And that was reduced from the year before.
Yeah. I got a refund for the October, November, December. That it wasn't usable last year, it isn't usable this year. It's not gonna be usable the 1st of January in 2025. So I don't know. Thank you. Yes, Chris?
Lisa, I don't know if you have any perspective on this, but one of the things I hear from a number of people is that, they escrow their taxes with their mortgage loan. And when they got their bill, they don't have enough money escrowed for that to be paid, and so they're getting a letter from their bank saying you don't have enough money. Is that caused by the increase in the land values, or wouldn't the banks have figured that out earlier than this time? Whatever.
Lisa, I can help with that one.
Okay, well,
So they do an escrow analysis every January. Every bank does that, every lender does. So they do it in January. The biggest increase people are finding is, guess what? Insurance.
yes, yes,
It's not their taxes, it's their insurance.
yes.
And so what they do when they do the escrow analysis, they're getting the reports in throughout the year because nobody closes in the same month. That's the biggest thing, Chris.
It is, I do agree. But
Thank you,
know-
Lisa.
Thank you. But the property values can move so differently from each property. You know, if it's homesteaded, if it's not homesteaded, you know, if someone did significant improvements, or some areas grow in value so much higher than others too. All those different factors come into play.
There's one more thing. Federal law does not allow lenders to arbitrarily increase your escrows, even though they know it might be happening. So they're only allowed to keep a certain amount, and they're made out to be the bad guys, but it's really just the economy.
Okay.
Insurance companies, okay. Any more comments about this? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And then I'd like to ask John Dahmer, Community Development, to come forward. We're going to give you a little update on Hurricane Ian recovery and also flood letters.
John, you look much better now.
Well, we thought it was time to have an upgrade. So, Ayuda Lonergan, City Floodplain Manager. For our Hurricane Ian restoration process, we are seeing positive increase in those permit applications and additional reviews where they are being expedited out. We had FEMA touring our community earlier this month. We are pleased to say at this time we have received no negative feedback or violation notices out of that process, which is significant, and that helps protect both our standing in the NFIP program, allowing our citizens to maintain both their flood insurance policies and their flood insurance discounts. A big portion of that positive feedback and good standing I can attribute to neighborhood services. That team has been such a positive influence with outreach and public education to homeowners that may have been a little anxious to get the process started, and there's always rumors in the field and a misunderstanding that if property owners do their own work, they do not need permits. Permits are based off of the nature of the work and flood zone you're in, and not necessarily who is performing that work. So that has taken a huge weight off of our shoulders by the public education that neighborhood services has done. Building department is currently reviewing the pending changes for the Florida Building Code and how that may be impacting our Hurricane Ian restoration activities for permitting process. Post-Hurricane Irma, the Florida Building Code increased its incorporation of flood-related construction to provide Florida a more universal standard. So instead of just federal regulations that may not be universally applied, since it's a Florida Building Code item, it provides a universal understanding and implication of that, which leads to the next topic. Post-Hurricane Irma, which we did have flooding, and it was prior to the shift of having a full-time floodplain manager for the city. At that time, council discussed the event of the flooding and had sent a request to FEMA in writing requesting that they restrict and do not approve anything future development either in review or pending changes until a new analysis of the floodway boundaries specifically relating to Spring Creek in the Imperial River was performed. Not surprisingly, they did not respond, nor have they honored said request. What were the implications of that letter has actually restricted staff's ability to review and or do local approvals on projects. To provide clarity on that, we do not on a local level change flood maps. We have no power, no authority to change flood maps. We only have the obligation to enforce the regulations depending upon the flood zones that FEMA establishes. What we do is that depending upon the level of the development, we enforce both federal, state, and local codes. So for example, if someone were putting a boat dock on one of these water sources, That would traditionally be something we would call a no-rise documentation. We're reviewing the engineer's math, making sure that there's going to be no negative impact, both upstream or downstream, for other property owners. Anything within that floodway boundary, if you put a shovel in the dirt, if you disturb any existing grade, we're collecting that engineering and we're reviewing that math. And that way we can do that on a local level, understanding our specific conditions. At this time, because of the implications of the letter, if an applicant, since we can't perform that review, we're currently restricted, that means an applicant still can apply to FEMA under a conditional letter of map change, saying, here's what we want to do. For example, a walkway, a bike path at existing grade, they're not elevating a property. That process, if we were to review it locally, is a $250 application fee for our team at this time. For them to do that same process through FEMA, the precondition analysis application fee is, I believe, $6,500. Their post-development application fee, which is conditional, is like an additional $6,000 to $7,000. So when you combine the application fees and delaying a project, you're putting almost a $20,000 price tag on this developer, that is not dictated by commercial development. That could be an individual residential lot, the same as it could be a commercial property. What we're asking staff, council this evening for is, do you want to continue that process that you established post-Hurricane Irma, or would you like to revert that back to the federal regulations that we collect the math? If the project dictates elevation to FEMA via an additional process, we strictly adhere to that.
Go ahead.
What's the benefit to our citizens in our city to maintain that?
To maintain the letter, I cannot think of a positive approach.
Good.
So if that's the direction, I think we would bring, as the formalized letter that was done back in
It was October 13th of 2017.
2017, we would bring back a green sheet at the agenda item at the next meeting so that you could formally address the letter.
Very good. Well, thank you. That's hard to understand, but it costs a lot of money to build a sidewalk.
In summary, we ask you to trust staff, that we are very knowledgeable in that code. We have competent staff to review the numbers that are Bonita Springs specific, instead of allowing an outside person sitting at a computer screen that's never seen Bonita or its nuances make the decisions for us.
Very good. Home rule. Sounds like home rule.
John, some of your finest work.
Why, thank you very much.
Very succinct.
Okay.
I just have a couple quick other announcements. Just as a reminder, December 6th is normally our 5:30 meeting. That would continue, but we will be doing a CIP workshop at 4 p.m. for that meeting as well. December 20th is our regular scheduled meeting for the morning. We're not requesting a CIP at this time for that meeting, so we'd continue that as the normal 9 a.m. meeting in December.
Okay.
And last, I just wanted to take a quick opportunity to express gratitude for Thanksgiving and wish everyone a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. Roy T. Bennett said, "Be thankful for everything that happens in your life. It's all an experience." So with that, I want to express my great gratitude to our staff and to our community policing unit, as well as our Bonita Springs Fire Control Rescue District. We are all one unit and strive with a grateful heart to serve our community. And Lionel Hampton said, "Gratitude is when memory is stored in the heart and not in the mind." So happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Anybody got a report?
Yes, I do.
Amy?
I did
Jamie?
attend the meeting regarding Coconut Road with Representative Botana. Commissioner Sandelli was there, Lee County staff, Joanne Ribble from Villages of Estero, and then, of course, our staff was with me. Villages of Estero is conducting a traffic study on all their roads. So at this time, there's not a clear understanding of what costs may be generated from the new development, including Estero and Bonita on Coconut Road. So Villages of Estero did feel that that information will be forthcoming. And Adam Botana, Representative Botana, did say that once the study is completed, there could be state funds available for that road, for the improvements. And our staff did state that impact fees can only be used for the increase of capacities and not for traffic calming. So they did state that during our meeting, and so there's more information to come.
Oh, good, very good, thank you. Jesse, you got,
No, sir.
oh, boy.
But happy Thanksgiving to all.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Chris?
You know, just for a shout out to all the Jewish residents, and hopefully that the amount of anti-Semitism that we see displayed in the media and so forth, news reports, is something that we all should keep our eye on. And, you know, I personally have written a number of letters saying that I'm in support of Israel, and I just think that it's a sad situation. I've always operated under the premise that if you let people talk long enough, they'll tell you what they are. And I have to admit, I've been shocked about what I've been reading, especially in the commentaries and letters of the New York Times, the Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, and the LA Times, as well as the Wall Street Journal. So anyway, I hope our Jewish brethren have a happy Thanksgiving, and that Bonita Springs doesn't suffer any of the things that we see going on in some parts of the country with respect to demonstrations and so forth. So we're all one community. We're all one set of residents. We're all working for the common good, and let's just try to keep the peace during this holiday season.
Nigel, please.
Yes, sir. First thing I want to do is I want to congratulate and thank our staff, and as well as our Veterans Advisory Board. I know several of you attended our Veterans Day Memorial. There's about 300 to 350 people there. I was really surprised at the comments from the veterans that said they appreciated the fact that we do it the right way in Bonita, not only on Veterans Day, but also Memorial Day. The weather was a little warm, but still a really lovely day, and your staff did a phenomenal job, Arlene. Thank you. I was at the TDC annual meeting, and the only thing as a takeaway, they had a guest speaker, and I apologize, I didn't write down his name, and I'll have it, but he came in and kind of surprised everybody about the fact that we need to reinvent ourselves as a community, as a county, Southwest Florida, and we just can't keep doing business the way we are, because, as he said, things are going to be changing in the economy. And I think that we've been pretty prudent in the way we spend our money, but I hope I'm wrong, but things are going to get a little bit tighter here in the future, and I think we need to keep an eye on that we're controlling our expenses and not overstepping. So the numbers coming into Lee County are not growing the way they'd like them to. Other than Sanibel, Captiva, and Fort Myers Beach, most of the hotel rooms are back, so that helps. And again, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. Fred, you have anything tonight?
Yeah, I attended a meeting, actually it was a ceremony honoring veterans that was held just before ours. It was, and about, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred people were there. Senator Scott was feature speaker, and it was done by the Lee County Republican Committee, I think, sponsored it with Senator Scott. But it was very successful, and so we actually had two big ceremonies in Bonita. In fact, I asked Scott to come up to ours, but he was booked to go down to a Collier County event, so he couldn't make it.
When you say ours, you meant the Presbyterian Church?
No, our city event.
No, the city at Riverside?
Oh, okay.
Ours was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking we had the veterans breakfast at the church.
No, there was this was a big church, a big breakfast, cost $50 for people that were not veterans. And it was at the old southwest corner of Imperial Parkway,
The event center.
the event center. In fact, I think that might have been the first event since it got resold.
Okay, anything else?
One more thing. Just wanted to remind people that this Saturday will be Vokerfest in Riverside Park. If you want to see me serving beer or throw beer at me or whatever, I will be there. And with the Rotary Morning Club, which we recognized at the last meeting for their 45th anniversary. So come have some fun. Hopefully the rains will stop by Saturday and we can all drink a little beer and talk a little German.
What time is that?
It starts
One to
at
seven.
noon to 7. It's setting up 12 noon and break down to 7. So I guess probably you're right. It's probably 1 to 7. So come on down.
Do you have a select time in the dunk tank?
Huh?
Is there a set hour that you're in the dunk tank?
I'm working 7 hours, so I'll be there all
Now,
afternoon.
we want to know if you're going to be in a dunk tank.
No, I'll probably have a lot of beer all over me because I'll be pouring it into the crowd.
Oh, okay. All right, I misunderstood.
But, yeah, so I'll be glad to sell a beer if you want to throw it at me.
Okay, public comment? Here we go, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Kyle Moran, Feltz Avenue in Bonita Springs. And I wanted to thank you, of course, for approving DPZ to envision, a really bright future for all those public lands that our community owns right in the heart of that downtown, from Good Bread to beyond. And I think that was a great conversation about the Resilient Lee process and all these HUD grants and things. And of course, I think we all think of the city of Bonita Springs as an independent and self-sufficient and financially conservative city, which is great. Those are core values of ours, but there are big checks being written for our community. And if you do the math, Bonita Springs represents roughly 8% of the population of Lee County. But it's a fascinating melting pot in our community. So if you add up the tax revenues and you take into account the beachfront communities and high-end gated communities, Bonita Springs would represent significantly more than 8% of tax revenues for the area. But the other end of that melting pot, as the city manager pointed out, is that we also have more than 8% of the low-income census tracts. So simply put, we should get at least 8% of those monies that come to the federal government, to the county. That's $80 or $90 million. Now, of course, we need to be thoughtful about home rule, whether it's from the county or from the federal government. And it's important that this community not be stuck with projects envisioned by others that don't fit us. I really appreciate Councilman Fullick's words about workplace housing versus affordable housing. These are really key distinctions that can get lost in the mix. But it also underlines again how important it is to pursue the project that you approved today with DPZ, looking at those public lands down there. And we can remember that downtown is an incredible fit for even the criteria outlined by Housing and Urban Development. So not only does improvement in that area represent economic resiliency, as Councilman Fullick pointed out, the TDC of Lee County has started to really recognize the special story that's developing in our downtown. They've invested in that story. That's part of building economic resiliency. So we're not just for beachgoers and things. Of course, in the downtown, we do have a low-income census tract there. There are public recreation and other public benefits. There's the arts and culture. And it should also be mentioned that seated between the Imperial River and Oak Creek, that downtown has at times been susceptible to storm flooding. And so it is uniquely qualified in that area as well. So we don't want to lose our home rule, and it's important and incumbent upon us to put forth the projects that make sense for this community. So thanks for doing that today and for having such a great conversation about how we move forward in getting our fair share or more of those very substantial checks that are being written. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Anybody else? Come on, Ben.
I just, again, Ben Hershenson, and Avonlea Drive. I just want to take a moment. This is probably the first year that I did not attend the downtown ceremonies for Veterans Day. I decided to do it in my own community. We have a flagpole which we put up from private donations a couple of years ago. A lot of people attended, and it was really a good feeling. We honored all of our veterans, and then we raised the colors to honor a special veteran in our community, 91 years of age, who was a veteran of the Korean War. I obtained a flag that, from Congressman Donald's office, that had flown over the Capitol building. And I tell you, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. And as an HOA president, when you're always dealing with minutia, this was the one time I can honestly say in all the years I'm doing this wonderful job that everybody was happy, cheerful. So with all due respect to the downtown, I hope you'll excuse me, God willing, I'll be around next year, and we're going to repeat that again. I want to segue to what Councilor Corey just said. And I want to say, as a Jewish person, I really appreciate your comments. I look around this country and I say, what in heaven's name is going on? I just can't believe it. But it's there, but it's not here. And there isn't a day that I wake up where I walk the community, I feel safe. And I can say that I don't think there's any place in this country, and I've been in every state, I don't think there's a safest place to live than here in Bonita Springs. Of course, I'm biased, but I say that with a great sense of humility and a great sense of appreciation for the work you folks all do, each one doing our part in a most beautiful community I've ever lived in. So on that note, I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Hope you don't eat too much turkey, and let me be the first one to say to everybody, early on, Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Ben. Anybody else? Anybody else?